Hello viewers, it's Josie. Welcome back to Eclectic Movie Reviews. Happy Earth Day! In this video, I will be doing what I did in the Small Axe review and pairing 5 of the Best Picture nominees this year to older movies with similar themes. Originally, I was going to pair my 10 favorite films of the season with older movies, but I realized that would be too long and too much work, and I couldn't find pairings for every single one of them. Again, I'm modeling after what Brian Sauer and Elric Kane do on the Pure Cinema podcast, when they have episodes focused on a particular director, like Paul Thomas Anderson, Martin Scorsese, Quentin Tarantino. Oh, I'm wearing my big Kahuna Burger shirt. Or David Lynch. They go through their filmographies and pair each film with another film that has similar themes. I want to preface this video by talking about a major theme I saw in quite a few of the movies that came out this season. Throughout the pandemic, several people, including myself, found time in nature to be a therapeutic activity. In November, a survey was done in Tokyo highlighting that citizens who spent time outdoors enhanced their emotional well-being. During this awards season, there were a lot of movies that captured the beauty of nature and the outdoors, including Calm with Horses, First Cow, Minari, My Octopus Teacher, the David Attenborough documentary. I forget the name of it, but I know it was nominated for a BAFTA. Nomadland, and even Sound of Metal. And despite wolfwalkers being animated, the nature scenery depicted in the animation is gorgeous. Additionally, it has an environmental message too. I don't want to get too political, nor is this a science channel. However, recent scientific research indicates connections between climate change, deforestation, and pandemics. In fact, some scientists are arguing that climate change and deforestation could have been a factor in causing COVID. When animals are displaced from their homes due to deforestation, they may carry with them diseases that humans may not be immune to. A similar case can be made for global warming. As ice caps melt from temperatures rising, ancient and prehistoric diseases that cavemen had are potentially defrozen. More importantly, research suggests that taking better care of our environment can prevent future pandemics from occurring. I remember during Italy's lockdown, the canals were cleared and a group of dolphins swam together, and it was such a beautiful picture. Also, given how less people were on the road or went flying due to travel restrictions, air pollution decreased. That being said, this made releases of movies like Nomadland, Minari, Sound of Metal, and Wolfwalkers extremely timely. They inspire us, at least me, to take joy in the beauty of Mother Nature. Now, let me get to my pairings. For The Father, okay, let me start talking about The Father. On paper, one would think that The Father would be another typical cliche family drama about an aging parent dying. This movie defied my expectations. As I was watching it, I felt like I was watching a horror movie. Florian Zeller did an excellent job adapting his own play. I'm very interested in his upcoming movie, The Son, starring Laura Dern and Hugh Jackman. And that's adapted from another, I think that's adapted from another play of his. The day after I watched The Father, I listened to the Next Best Picture Show's podcast review during breakfast, and Matt Neglia, I think it was him who said it, the host, he jokingly said, The Father, best horror movie of 2020. And I was like, I couldn't agree more. The editor himself apparently said that he wanted the movie to play like a horror. As a joke, they should put this movie on Shudder. I mean, if they want to make these movies more accessible to the public, they might as well. Anthony Hopkins is amazing, as always. Olivia Colman is fantastic. Rufus Sewell and Olivia Williams are also really good. Okay, I'm calling this double feature Geriatric Jeebies. In other words, nursing home horror. That's right, I'm pairing the father with Bubba Hotep, which was at film festival, I think TIFF in 2002, and then released in the United States in 2003. Written and directed by Don Coscarelli, based on a short story by Joe R. Lansdale. Okay, I know the father and Bubba Hotep are not much alike in plot at all, let alone stylistically. I just thought it would be funny to pair it with a horror movie involving old people in assisted living. Bubba Hotep follows an aging Elvis impersonator, played by Bruce Campbell, who wakes up in a nursing home after a long coma. He becomes friends with one of the seniors at the facility, played by Ossie Davis, who has a delusion that he's JFK. Members of the nursing home start dying for strange, unnatural reasons. Bruce Campbell and Ossie Davis find out that an Egyptian mummy named Bubba Hotep, played by Bob Ivy, is sucking the souls out of the residents. Together, they team up to fight against the mummy. Like I said, it's a totally different movie than The Father, but put it this way. It will for sure cheer you up after The Father, being the second half of a double feature. And it's also perfect lengthwise, it's a great double feature because they're both an hour and a half. Bubba Hotep would also make a great pairing with the Mole Agent. Now that's a triple feature! For Mank, okay, next is Mank. I'm probably one of the very few film reviewing YouTubers and podcasters out there who actually liked Mank. The way David Fincher and his team made it look and sound like an early Hollywood movie was genius. The fact that he directed his late father's script is just so beautiful. A lot of people complained about it being too much inside baseball and about the film industry as well, delving into 1930s American politics. I am going to be blunt. They are missing the point. Truth be told, the aspects of Mank that several pundits have criticized the film for, I think, are its strongest points. I think it's the most misunderstood movie of 2020, next to Tenet. Okay. As depicted in Mank, what gave screenwriter Herman Mankiewicz the idea for Citizen Kane was Upton Sinclair's governing run against Frank Merriam. Upton Sinclair, for those of you who do not know, was a socialist muckraker, author of The Jungle and Oil. Louis B. Mayer and William Randolph Hearst were supporters of opposing candidate Frank Merriam. The character of Charles Foster Kane was modeled after William Randolph Hearst. Mayer arranged a propaganda campaign calling Upton Sinclair a communist. It was Mayer's sneaky sabotaging of Upton Sinclair that was the final straw for Mankiewicz, which prompted his writing of Citizen Kane. And you see how the fear of socialism is not new. It seems with how today's media presents the topic of socialism that it's a completely new sensation. However, socialist ideas can be rooted back to ancient Greece and 3rd century India. It's not new. That being said, I think Mank is a lot more politically relevant than people give it credit for. And on the subject, I have this that my brother got me for Christmas, the RKO story, and I'm going to read a short excerpt of it about Citizen Kane. Gossip columnist Luella Parsons believed that Charles Foster Kane, the protagonist, was just a thinly veiled, slanderous portrait of her boss, William Randolph Hearst. As a consequence, the Hearst newspapers declared war on RKO, disrupting the film's release and damaging its box office performance. Critics tried to help, working overtime to come up with proper words of appreciation for the extraordinary achievement, but it still ended up a $160,000 loser. Subsequent reissues brought it into the black. However, no American motion picture has had more lasting influence. Indeed, a poll of international critics conducted by the highly respected British film journal Sight and Sound in 1971 named it the best picture of all time. Okay. And as far as pairings, I am pairing Mank with Hearts of the West from 1975. Directed by Howard Zieff, I'm probably pronouncing his name wrong, and written by Rob Thompson. Like Mank, it takes place in the 1930s Hollywood era. The story centers on an ambitious amateur Western writer named Lewis Tater, played by Jeff Bridges. He leaves his Iowa hometown to attend University of Titan in Nevada. However, he discovers that he had been scammed by two crooks from a nearby hotel and that no such university at all exists. One of the crooks track him down and attack him where he spends the night at a local hotel. Jeff Bridges' character escapes the hotel carrying the suitcase of the crook who attacked him. And when walking in the desert after escaping, he discovers a Western film production company called Tumbleweed Productions. A unit man named Burt Kessler, played by Alan Arkin, gives Jeff Bridges acting gigs. Jeff Bridges' character becomes friends with a stuntman named Howard Pike, played by Andy Griffith, and he falls in love with script supervisor named Miss Trout, played by Blythe Danner. Hearts of the West would also make a good pairing with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood because of the actor-stuntman friendship, but in this case, it pairs a little better with Mank because 1930s. Moving on to Minari. I wanted to pair Minari with a film about rural immigrant life, so I'm going with Our Vines Have Tender Grapes from 1945. This is directed by Roy Rowland, who directed the 5,000 Fingers of Dr. T, a film I've talked about a couple times. The screenplay is by Dalton Trumbo and based on a novel of the same title by George Victor Martin. It is about a community of Norwegian immigrants in rural Wisconsin. Edward G. Robinson and Agnes Moorehead play Martinus and Bruna Jacobson. They have a young daughter named Selma, played by Margaret O'Brien. Similar to Stephen Yeun's character in Minari, Edward G. Robinson's character has the goal of succeeding with the family farm. In both films, the wife is fearful that the husband won't succeed due to the limiting beliefs of lack and limitation. Nevertheless, the families in both films overcome that through their love of one another, perseverance, and not giving up faith. Moreover, both films illustrate the beauty of quaint childhood innocence. David and Anna, played by Alan Kin and Noel Cho, the children in Minari, are absolutely adorable. I am excited to see what future projects those two child actors get involved with in the future. As far as Our Vines, one can make the argument that it is really the daughter Selma's story, similar to how you can make the argument that Minari is the son, played by Alan Kim's story. I also wanted to bring up how both films address what I consider to be an epidemic in this country, and that is the fear of lack. I mean, that's a whole other video. Margaret O'Brien, who plays Selma, went on to play Mary Lennox in Fred M. Wilcox's Secret Garden adaptation. She also played Beth in the 1944 Little Women. It's a wonder how she's still alive. She's one of the last remaining actresses of old Hollywood at the age of 84. Unlike other Hollywood marriages, she's been married to the same person since 1974. Our Vines Have Tender Grapes is available on DVD, but I don't think it's yet available on Blu-ray. From what I know, it's available to rent on YouTube, Amazon Prime, and Vudu for a couple $. I would love to see Criterion curate this, or Arrow, or another DVD or Blu-ray company. Next, for Nomadland. I'm not really comparing films as I'm comparing directors' filmographies. What's interesting about Chloe Zhao as a filmmaker is how she mixes documentary and fiction. Another filmmaker uh, uh, who has a similar approach is another Asian female director named Bayam Bazurin Dava. I could be pronouncing her name wrong. Both of these ladies look at communities underrepresented in the mainstream media and cast real-life people in the roles. Chloe Zhao, of course, got real-life nomads to be in Nomadland. Prior to Nomadland, she explored real-life Native Americans in The Writer and Songs My Brother Taught Me. Likewise, Dava explores nomadic communities of Mongolia in Cave of the Yellow Dog from 2005 and The Story of the Weeping Camel from 2002. Cave of the Yellow Dog follows a nomadic family, the Bacheluns. Again, I'm probably mispronouncing their name. They are a real-life family, and the real-life people play the roles. The oldest daughter, Nansel, befriends a dog, whom she names Achur. The father, however, does not want Nansel keeping the dog because he fears doing so would cause wolves to hunt after their sheep. The film explores Nansel's connection with the dog as well as with her family. Cave of the Yellow Dog would also make a good pairing with Wolfwalkers too. The Story of the Weeping Camel features nomadic shepherds in the Gobi Desert of Mongolia. Both of these films have gorgeous cinematography capturing the wide-open natural world of Mongolia. By comparison, Nomadland contains beautiful scenery of the wide-open western frontier. Obviously, the nomads in Nomadland are much different than the nomads in Cave and Weeping Camel. In Nomadland, the nomads are van dwellers who are with like menial day jobs or no jobs at all. On the other hand, the Mongolian nomads are traveling farmers. Overall, when looking at Nomadland, Cave of the Yellow Dog, and Story of the Weeping Camel together, it is clear that Chloe Zhao and Bayam Bazurin Dava are both skilled at emphasizing beauty in what most people would find mundane. Bayam Bazurin Dava's latest movie is another movie centered on nomadic life in Mongolia called Veins of the World. It was submitted as Mongolia's entry to the international film category, but was not nominated. So far, it has played at a couple of festivals, but has yet to get a US release date. I'm looking forward to seeing it when I get the chance. Fun fact, Chloe Zhao and her cinematographer, Joshua James Richards, are a couple. So I like to view her movies as kind of like love stories with her characters as a stand-in for Chloe, and the beautiful scenery as a stand-in for Joshua James Richards. Now he is a cinematographer on the rise to watch out for. Next, Sound of Metal. I really connected with Sound of Metal because I took American Sign Language when I was at Adelphi. It was one of the most rewarding challenges in my life ever. And the story of the making of Sound of Metal is just as inspiring as the film. Before I learned ASL because I learned ASL in college, I wanted to learn about Riz Ahmed's learning of it, so I listened to a lot of interviews and podcasts with him. Riz did about 7.5 months of preparation learning the drums in ASL, and he has sincerely explained in interviews how the process truly changed him as a person. A lot of good things came out of it, such as meeting individuals in the deaf community. He even met his wife, author Fatima Farheen Mirza, when preparing for the role. She's the author of the novel A Place for Us, which I just recently read, and I have to say it's actually pretty good. I recommend it if you like family saga novels. It's also wonderful how actual deaf actors got representation, like Lauren Ridloff, who was in the Broadway production of Children of a Lesser God. The most interesting thing Riz Ahmed shared during his press tour campaign, if you will, is that deaf people taught him the true meaning of listening. He brought up how his ASL instructor, Jeremy Stone, said that hearing people are emotionally repressed because they hide behind words. Because when using ASL, you're communicating with your whole body. Thus, it's guess harder to fake an emotion. Paul Raci, who's nominated for Best Supporting Actor, who I quite frankly think should win, is outstanding. He is a CODA, which means child adult. He has the most interesting story out of all the cast. He shares a lot of commonalities with the characters he plays. Like Joe, he's a Vietnam War veteran. Additionally, he dealt with addictions in the past and worked in sober houses helping rehabilitate addicts. All these connections make the performance feel extra authentic. In an interview, Paul Raci mentioned that his wife called the film autobiographical. Raci added that a friend of his thought the film was so autobiographical that they thought he wrote it. One could make the argument that it's an easy role to play because he is, in a way, playing himself. However, I think it's the exact opposite because his character is so complex. And that's part of the reason why I think he should win Best Supporting Actor. I'm pairing this one with one of my favorite documentaries, Here and Now, from 2007. Written and directed by Irene Taylor Brodsky. I watched this one in one of my ASL classes. This is about an older couple in their 60s named Paul and Sally Taylor, Brodsky's real-life parents, undergoing the cochlear implant surgery. The couple happens to be the director's parents, as the name implies. Paul Taylor, who died this past January at the age of 81, was a well-renowned engineer who left an incredible legacy. In the 1960s, he invented teletypewriters, also known as TTYs or TDDs. These are telecommunication devices for the deaf and hard of hearing that are still used today. Paul Taylor is honored in the RIT Innovation Hall of Fame. His wife, Sally, is still alive. The subject of cochlear implants is a controversial one among the deaf community. Deaf people do not like to view themselves as handicapped or disabled individuals needing to be fixed. Rather, deafness and ASL for them is their cultural way of life. That issue is highlighted in Sound of Metal as well. Paul Raci's character Joe is against Riz Ahmed's character Ruben getting the cochlear implant because he sees it as a threat to him experiencing the richness of deaf culture. And there's a scene where Paul Raci's character says, "We're not looking for a solution to this." I think it's something like, "We're looking for a solution to this, not this." And when Ruben gets the cochlear implants in Sound of Metal, he's overwhelmed and bothered by the sound. It's funny, when I was watching it with my brother, and like there was the cool sound design of like the staticky sound when he got the implants, my brother was like, "Oh my god, I'd rather be deaf." It's a similar scenario in Here and Now when Paul and Sally get their implants. In one scene, Sally's crying about how she doesn't feel like she's getting the full hearing experience with a cochlear implant, and it's incredibly heartbreaking. There's another scene in the doc where an audiologist says that due to the neurobiology of younger brains, younger children who get cochlear implants are more adaptable to it than adults with older brains. The best part of Here and Now is the way it shows, the best aspect of Here and Now is the way it shows how Paul and Sally really stood by each other through all their obstacles. Again, the biggest connecting factor between Sound of Metal and Here and Now is this idea of embracing deafness as a way of life rather than as a disability. Here and Now is available to watch on Hulu. That will do it for my Best Picture Pairings video. If you like this video, you can click the like button and subscribe, and you'll be notified for more positive poems and movie reviews. You can also follow me on Instagram at Eclectic Movies or Positive Poems. You can follow me at Letterboxd at Eclectic Movies. And to close, if you're wondering what my favorite films of the season are, I would say Another Round, Crip Camp, The Father, I'm Thinking of Ending Things. So disappointed that's not an adapted screenplay. Charlie Kaufman took a novel and I think made it even better than the source material. Mank, Minari, The Mole Agent, Nomad, as I said, Palm Springs, Sound of Metal, Tenet, and Wolfwalkers. Okay, that will do it for my 2020-2021 Oscar season pairings. See you next time. Goodbye for now.